So let's start creating stuff finally. All right, our layer panel is empty. We just want to start building our composition, and remember, if I toggle my transparency grid, it's actually empty. So let's start building the composition. Let's start doing something really cool. So now, like I said earlier, if you want to do anything that has to do with layers, you go to layers, right, and you build your composition with layers. So I'm going to go to new, and what kind of layer do you want to create? You want to create a text, solid, light. So for now, we want to create a solid, right? If I click on that, this dialog box will come and to ask you what kind of solid do you want to create. Of course, I want to use my solid as a background, so I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to name this background, right? And yes, it's going to be the same size with the composition settings because I really want it to fill the whole compositions. Then you don't need to worry about the rest of the settings. Yeah, the color, now you cannot change the color now, so I want to do maybe something like a blue, like a dark blue, right? So I'm going to go with something like this, and I'm going to click on OK, and if I click OK here again, and I have something like this. So we have our first layer, and our first layer is a solid. Solid is just what it is. I don't know what to call it. It's just like a plain solid material, right? And you can just put whatever color, you can put effect on it to get something really cool. So we have our solid and we use it for our background. Now remember, if we toggle this transparency grid now, you can see that we cannot see the transparency anymore, right? So let me just toggle this back. That's to show you that we have something in our layer panel. So we have this, and if you look at our project panel, you can see that we have the icon. This is the icon for composition, and the solid that we just created, is right here, background. So you don't need to worry about this. So as you just keep creating stuff, creating your panel, rather, your project panel here keeps updating with the things you are creating right from After Effects. Yeah, so we have our solid, we have our background. Now the next thing we want to do, like I said, we want to start filling up our composition. Now before I go ahead, I think it's high time I introduce you to the shape icon, right? Remember, I've introduced you to these three tools: the selection tool, the hand tool, the zoom tool. This is the rotation tool. Yes, if you want to rotate things on your composition, this is it. We'll get into you get to see the practical how to use that in a bit. Now we have the camera. Yes, we are not going to be using this now. You have the pan behind icon points. I'm going to touch this soon. Now the ones that I really want you to focus on right now is the shape tool. We have the rectangle tool and we have the pen tool. Now if I click on the rectangle tool and hold, you will see other options. So we can draw rounded rectangle to ellipse to polygon star to, right? Let me just click out. Then the pen tool, of course I've mentioned that. So if I want to draw the rectangle tool, I can just hold, of course it's already on rectangle, then I can just go ahead and start drawing, right? Before I start drawing, right, and you realize that the color of my rectangle is black, and if you draw yours will most likely be different from mine. That's because I've been using my After Effects for a while, so it's using the previous settings to the present shape that I'm drawing. So yours will be a bit different. So how do you change that? I've finally successfully able to draw my rectangle by just dragging and holding and releasing. So how do you change the color? Immediately you draw your shape first, the shape panel will appear, which is your rectangle, right? And one other thing you also notice, you now have these two functions here, which is the fill and stroke button. So how do we change the color? If we click on the black color here, I can change it to like white. Click on OK. Now let's say I want it to have stroke. I can click on the stroke itself, right? So we have the first one, solid color, linear gradient, radial gradient. For now, I just want to go with solid color, and I can click on OK. But you can notice that the color that we have here is a blue color. Of course, you might not really see it, but if you want to increase your stroke width, you can just increase it this way, right? It's now about 60 or 75 pixels. You can see that it's now very obvious now. Or what if we don't want to have a fill? What if we just want stroke alone? Right, just the same way we click on stroke and we're able to select the solid color, you can click on the word fill itself. So if you click on the word fill, you can choose, maybe you want it to be linear gradient, radial gradient, or no or none. If I click on none and do this, you can see that there is no fill anymore. Right, all we have is just a stroke. So this is the takeaway from this, right? If you want to add fill or you want to take away the fill from the shape, you click on the word itself, right? And select, I'm going to be choosing solid color. I'm going to click OK, right? If you want to change the color, you click on the color itself and then you change, right? So I'm going to stick to white. I'm going to click on OK. The same thing for stroke. You want to take away the stroke. If you want to take away the stroke, you can just click on the none, right? And the stroke will not be there anymore. So I'm going to take away the stroke and click OK. So that's how you trick it. So, and of course, if you eventually had stroke, so this way you change the color from here, right? I can change the color to something like this, and of course you can increase the size of the size of the stroke, or increase by I'm just clicking and dragging, right? Or you can just come here and just put in the value. So I'm going to put like 50, right? And there you go. So that's how you add color to your shape. That's how you had maybe you want your shape to be fill or you want it to be stroke. So that's how you add color and fill and stroke to your shape. And mind you, this is just rectangle. And one thing I would like to do now is to name my layers. Remember, always name your layers. It keeps you, it helps you to be really organized. So by the time you have tons of layers that are dealing with, you can easily recognize. So how do you name your layers? So I'm going to click on this and then press enter button, and then you can just name, let me just name it rectangle, right? Rectangle, and there you go. And I can just have this, this is open up. I can just simply close this for now. So successfully we've been able to draw our shape, and I can take my move tool. Remember, you need to, before you can move it, I can't move it because we are still on shape tool. So I need to select on the move tool, and then I can now start moving it around, right? So we've been able to draw our shape. Yes, this is our rectangle shape.